How sick is that?
That's the backup cam?
That's the backup cam, imagine, 1987. This is the only one, I believe, that had blue interior. There was a bright white burgundy. This is the impact white, so it's the non-metallic white, which just looks so beautiful on these cars. What a piece. Ugh, wow. This is sick. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So if you don't know what's going on in the universe today, we are in the middle of a trade war, and there are tariffs that are affecting both new cars and potentially classic cars. And I have to tell you guys, this has been the most two stressful weeks I have had in a very long time. Somehow the entire team has managed to get some really, really special unicorns here in Miami just in time. We have a few cars that are running late. We have an F40 that's crossing the border as we speak. We hope that makes it in time. By the time this video's out, we'll know. I think the tariffs go into effect Wednesday evening or Wednesday morning. We have two other cars coming from Canada, and we have one other car coming from California, which is just on the way. And now, but we have to start today's video talking about a complete 1980s object of excess. I mean, if you had to sum up the 1980s in one car, you could almost say this is it. And this is the one-of-one Gemballa Testarossa. And we talked about this car a little bit in last week's video, but to have it here, you don't realize just how different this car is until you see it in person. Now, the story was, and we spoke about this, an American entrepreneur. He was planning to open a series of museums, car events. He had a gym, Gold's Gym, and he was doing all these incredible projects. And this was a one-off that he commissioned from Uffe Gemballa. And if you don't know, Uffe Gemballa was way ahead of his time. I mean, looking at some of the details of this car, and we'll go over it today, you see just how forward-thinking he was, probably inspiring all automotive manufacturers, the car culture, so many different things, and we'll talk about it. But you have to remember this car is from 1987. I'm playing around with some music already from 87, and what an incredible time. So when you first look at this car, this is not a standard Testarossa. Even things like the front hood are different. So I noticed that every single part of this car is completely different, with the exception of the headlights and the roof. And we'll show you that now. So unique front bumper that was unique to this car, a different front hood with this unique cutout here. And I don't know exactly why that was. Maybe it was just a design element with the lights, which is really nice. Unique front fenders. And if you look at these fenders, these aren't fiberglass. This is some sort of a carbon Kevlar, because you can actually see the weave in all of the flares and fenders, which is really way ahead of its time. And then when you look at this car, you see the doors are different and the whole rear fenders are different. The rear hood is different. These add-ons are different. This center section is different. That rear wing is different. And then this lip is different. You even see the rear bumper is different. And then obviously this car is 4 inches wider than a standard Testarossa. You can actually see the iconic Gemballa, the 6 pipes, which was used on the Avalanche as well. It was used, I think, on their 635 CSI as well. The different wheels, and then when you go in the interior, everything is remodeled. Now, I have to tell you guys, this is not a Testarossa interior. The entire gauge cluster section is different. This is an original TV screen that was installed now here originally. And if you know a little bit about Gemballa, you know they had a partnership with Pioneer. This Alpine unit is not correct. We will find an original Pioneer CDX1, which was the famous stacked radio that we will install. We will get that right. But then everything else is different. The shift gate, the AC controls are obviously the same. The seats are different, but the whole dash is different. And what's so cool about this car is if you look at the gauges, they're actually leather wrapped. And this is before Porsche was leather wrapping gauges. The steering wheel with all of the buttons, the volume control actually still works. I think all modern cars today have a volume control on the steering wheel. And then one of the wildest features that Gemballa, you can actually look here and see how this is incorporated here. Again, way ahead of its time. Had the rear camera system that would then display your backup camera or camera on the screen. Now, this was also used in the Gemballa Avalanche, who, what was super cool, Bruce, the original owner of this car, had on his Gemballa Avalanche, they produced two massive cameras on the doors that would project to a screen in the center of the dash. This one has the screen on the side of the dash, and the camera's actually right here. Now, I think it's a US law that all cars need a backup camera, but again, Gemballa was way ahead of its time. You look at even the door panels of this car, and you see all of the stitching and piping and different things that Gemballa would have done. And it is just... the presence in person is so cool. We are still looking for the original Geneva Auto Show photos or video. It was cool. We learned that the original owner flew to Europe, unveiled the car with Gemballa at the Geneva Auto Show, and then brought it back to the US. That's later. It would have been featured in a ton of auto shows in the US, even an auto show in Miami, which I did not realize, New Jersey, all over the US, and then the car was later featured in Road and Track magazine. There were some posters. There was a model done by BBR, which we showed you last week. So such a cool piece. Again, you've got to see it in person to appreciate it. And really, I love these coach-built tuner cars of this period. I mean, way ahead of its time. They created a momentum. They pushed manufacturers to be more creative, more exotic, and really just so special. The next unicorn, I have to say, I have fallen in love with this car as soon as it arrived. This is one of the last SE30s ever built, car number 147. It's a car that hasn't really been publicly seen in many, many years. Lived majority of its life in Japan. It was originally ordered for the Dubai market. And what's super cool about this car is it's considered one of the factory SE30 Yodas. So Yoda kit installed at the factory. You'll see obviously the hood here. And right now, if you look in there, there's no engine, there's no gearbox. The engine and gearbox are on the way to Italy. They're gonna be completely restored by, obviously, Top Motors Salvioli, who, if you guys know, Luca Salvioli was part of the original development team and was installing the Yoda kits for the factory in period. So very, very special car. I believe it is the only SE30 Yoda that was ever finished in bright white. So this is the impact white with blue Alcantara. What's also unique about this car that was ordered from new is the blue Alcantara door panels. And if you look, power roll down windows. So I believe about 10, maybe 12 SE30s came from the factory with the power roll down windows. If you look at a normal SE30, and by no means is this a normal SE30, you see it has the little roll down window, but this is a car that was completely ordered and spec'd with these roll down windows. And this car is just so beautiful. The carbon is in stunning condition and the color works so well. So it's so cool to get this car here in time. We're gonna go through it from front to back. Cosmetically, honestly, there's not much to do. The former owner in Japan, you can just tell, really loved and cherished this car. And we're really excited to get it back on the road, have this finished. It'll be submitted to Lamborghini Polo Storico for full certification. It was actually already certified many, many years ago, but I think one more time after we do the major service will be nice to renew its certification. Next, and this is one that I don't think you guys can appreciate. I'm sorry to our fans and supporters. You're not gonna appreciate this car until you see it in person, but it is the Roof Ultimate. Now this car tells a great story. Originally, Roof in 2016 or 2017 produced the Ultimate, and the Ultimate, the goal was as a test bed or a precursor to the CTR anniversary. So the original Ultimate was used to test a carbon body on an original 964 chassis. And the concept really was the highest horsepower from a twin turbo air-cooled motor with the lightest body. And it was originally displayed as this bright blue, I think it was Riviera blue or something like that, bright blue car at the Geneva Auto Show. And it would later, Roof would later then produce CTR anniversary, again, carbon body, their own carbon chassis, but a water-cooled car. Now, later on, and we learned this recently, I don't think anyone knew this actual car existed, which is sort of interesting. It was believed that only one Ultimate was produced, which it was, but then later on, Roof, Mr. Roof, for two very good clients and friends, would produce two more conversion cars, this one as a wide body in a unique paint to sample blue color. This was a special ordered color, and talking to the family at Roof, we learned that this might be the only blue on blue on blue that they've ever built. We're gonna have to look into that more, but this car is just so cool. You feel the lightweight of everything that's carbon on this car, and this is a little bit different from the original. I mean, the original Ultimate, this is almost an ode to the original Ultimate. The original Ultimate, the complete body was carbon. This has, and if you look, I think these are carbon. These are carbon. The hood is definitely carbon. We can open that up. But again, the highest horsepower of a air-cooled car that Roof had built. We gotta open this up. And it's just, this car is stunning. What's so cool to me is when you look close at the bumpers, front and rear, you can see the carbon weave throughout. Look at that. It's just so cool. The fit and finish of this car is spectacular. So we have a ton of great content coming. So next week we will be making a major announcement. Sergio and Herschel are hitting the road, and I promise you next week's video is gonna blow your guys' minds. We have a car that is, I'm gonna make a bold statement, one of the most important cars that I think we've discovered, that we've chased. The story of getting to this moment is even absolutely insane, and it is this intersection of potentially one of the greatest sports players of all time and the automobile that is so interesting, so cool, and I promise you guys, you don't want to miss this. So safe travels to Sergio and Herschel. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe.